Welcome to our Savvy Ladies Wednesday Wisdom webinar. My name is Maggie Montemuro, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator at Savvy Ladies. If you have a question during the presentation, you can type it into the chat window. Or if you're joining us by phone, you can email your question to info@savvyladies.org. Today's presenter is JT O'Donnell, founder of Career HMO, the first and only career coaching membership website. JT is a career strategist and workplace consultant who helps American workers find greater professional satisfaction. Unlike other advisors, JT is a true field expert. She works with both individual clients and corporations, giving her access to emerging workforce trends. She has 18 plus years of experience managing, training, and coaching people of all ages on a wide variety of career topics. JT's work has been cited in dozens of online and national publications. Her book, Careerlism: The Smart Approach to a Satisfying Career, outlines her highly successful career coaching methodology. In 2007, she joined Dale Doughton to write the career advice column, JT and Dale Talk Jobs, which appears in more than 130 newspapers, reaching over 6 million households weekly. And most recently, JT founded the Twitter Advice Project that currently has 15 plus top career experts providing free advice to job seekers. We want to thank you for being here with us today, JT, so let's get started.
Thanks, Maggie. Hello, Savvy Ladies. So great to be on here with you all today. And we are going to be focusing specifically on the topic of LinkedIn. And if I had you all in the room here today, I would say everybody raise their hand who has a LinkedIn profile, and I would hope, fingers crossed, that I would see every hand up in the room. Just to give you an idea, there are 350 million people and counting on LinkedIn. 2 people per second are adding themselves to LinkedIn. It is currently the #1 recruiting source for recruiters right now, and this will continue to dominate for quite some time. LinkedIn has established itself in the marketplace and really created what we would refer to as the resume alternative. And the reason that it's so important to all of you savvy ladies out there is that there are some statistics coming across our desks right now that are making us realize now more than ever we are no longer employees, we are businesses of one. A Career Advisory Board study indicates that as much as 50% of our workforce within the next 15 to 20 years will be independent contractors. And that's because companies can no longer offer long-term full-time employment. If we know that to be true, we have a huge skill gap out there. Millions upon millions of people, 150 million workers plus in the U.S., who do not know how to market their business of one. So you want to think about your LinkedIn profile as the web page for that business. And I think all of us know that today we are sophisticated consumers. We, thanks to the internet, use the search engine to find out information about products and services before we ever buy them. In fact, 81% of consumers do homework online before they make a purchasing decision. That is exactly the same for you and the people seeking you and your business of one. Recruiters, companies, whatever the case may be, they are seeking you out. And if they can't find you online, and more importantly, find the right information about you online, you are hurting your credibility. You are telling them one of 3 things, and maybe even all 3. 1, that you're not tech savvy. 2, that there's nothing exciting or noteworthy about you professionally. Or 3, you've got something to hide. And none of those are good messages. So I want you to remember this phrase today, brand or be branded. Brand or be branded, because that's truly what having an optimized LinkedIn profile is all about. So we're going to get started. I could spend hours talking about all the finer points of LinkedIn. In fact, we have an entire tutorial kit around it with 25 videos in it, each video about 1 to 3 minutes long, discussing every single aspect of a LinkedIn profile top to bottom. But given our time constraints today, what I want to show you, ladies, is the 7 things we all need to have on our LinkedIn profile to at least be optimizing it to the level that we need to get the right return on the investment, okay? So patching through that, I'm going to skip over my story because Maggie did such a nice job. Thank you, Maggie, for that incredible introduction. That was very kind of you. I'll sum it up and just tell you all, for a very long time I've been a career geek. I have been a major volunteer ambassador for LinkedIn since the day I found it. I was an early adopter of LinkedIn, and I am lucky enough to contribute to their influencer program, where I currently have over 960,000 followers. So the one thing I can tell you about this platform is it gives back whatever you put into it. So I'm hoping to get you all as excited about the platform as I am, because I can tell you firsthand the results for my career and my business have been immeasurable. All right, so we're going to get right down to it. The first thing I want every savvy lady to think about, in fact, if you're multitasking today, you might be on your computer, you might want to bring up your own LinkedIn profile. The most important real estate on your LinkedIn profile is what we refer to as the top fold, and that's what comes up when somebody actually clicks on your profile link. So if everybody was to do that right now, you're going to see that your photograph comes up, your headline comes up, and then your connection, your public URL, and maybe, depending on how long it is, part of your summary. It is very important that you nail this top fold and optimize those three key things that I just mentioned. If you do not, you will statistically lose the chances that somebody will continue reading. We know for a fact that recruiters, skimmers, people who are looking at your profile will tend to spend about 6 to 13 seconds on it tops before they decide if they're going to continue to look at you more closely. 6 to 13 seconds. Everybody grab a watch and tick off 6 seconds, and you're going to realize that that only gives us just enough time to really take in that top fold, and that's why that real estate is so very important. So when we think about what should go up there, I'm going to tell you that we have to think about the keywords that we're using, how we use those in our headline and summary, and, of course, our picture. So let's look at that a little bit more closely. I'm going to bring up my own as a screenshot here. The picture is vital. We don't need pictures on resumes, but you do need a picture on LinkedIn. Studies show that people are 7 times more likely to click on your profile and check it out if you have a photograph. And there are some interesting rules of thumb when it comes to these photographs. You do not need an overproduced photograph. You do not need to go have a professional photographer take your photograph. You can take your photograph yourself. Most people can take a very good photograph with a smartphone. But there are some things we know that you need to have in the picture to really make it resonate. First of all, make sure that it has either a neutral, meaning nothing behind you backdrop, or a very subtle backdrop, maybe a professional backdrop. You don't want something that is too busy or too dated. So when in doubt, play it safe and use a plain backdrop. A light-colored wall would do just fine in your house. Second thing that's important with this is that it be well lit. You do not want a dark photograph. Don't grab the photograph where you think you look really good at some wedding or some party and you crop out the people that have their arms draped over you on either side and your head's tilted on somebody else's head. It just doesn't work. It needs to be a standalone photograph of you and nobody else. It needs to be from your shoulders up. Obviously, we need professional attire. Definitely in color. Sometimes people think black and white's the way to go, but we actually know that color is better. But above all else, if above everything else that you can do for this photograph, there is one thing that you need to do most, and that is look approachable. You need to smile. You don't have to have a crazy, goofy smile. You don't have to be over the top. But if you don't look pleasant, if you don't look approachable, you are actually having this work against you. And a great way to test this is to go over to a website called photofeeler.com, P-H-O-T-O-F-E-E-L-E-R. It's a website where you can crowdsource a few photographs that you're thinking about for your LinkedIn profile and be rated. And one of the ratings is how likable you look. And honestly, that is the single most important factor that you can consider when you are putting up your photograph. It is not about how pretty you look, ladies. It's not about whether you look hot. It is about whether you look approachable. And just keep that in mind. And we have studied this up and down, and we know this to be true. So please don't underestimate the photograph. It is a very big deal, and that whole likability factor is major. Now, the second piece of it is the headline. And the headline, as you can see with mine there, is a list of keywords with vertical line dividers. This is extremely important. One thing that all of us need to do is identify the keywords that we want to be known for. So if you think about search algorithms, like Google, for example, it's all based on keywords. And if you know anything about search engine optimization, you know that companies are constantly optimizing their web pages for certain keywords so that when a consumer searches on that, their web page will come up in the top of the search results. Well, the same exact system applies in LinkedIn. You have to give some serious thought to the key skills that you most want to be known for. And then you need to optimize your profile to reflect that. So further down in a LinkedIn profile, you will come across a section called Skills and Endorsements. And this is a very important section, and we'll talk about it later. But it gives you the opportunity to showcase your top 10 key skill sets. You get to pick the 10 that you showcase, and then you can have a good 20 or 30 more beneath that, but the top 10 are pretty important. All of us should be evaluating ourselves and saying, what skills do I most want to be known for? What skills do I want to be endorsed for? What skills do I want to create keyword density for in my profile? And that's because the more those keywords are in your profile, the more likely you are to show up in search results. But something trumps all of that. If the keyword is in your actual headline here in the top, you will go to the top of the list of the search results. And that's because LinkedIn's algorithm says, well, gee, if it's in the headline, they're literally labeling themselves this. That's even more weight than if it happens to show up somewhere in the LinkedIn profile. So choosing the top 5 or 6 key skill sets out of your top 10 and putting them up in your headline with a vertical line divider will statistically increase the chances that you are found in searches. And the more you're found in searches, the more you're viewed. And the more you're viewed, the higher you're ranked in LinkedIn. And this is how you can really drive that viewership and a lot of the inbound connection requests and inbound opportunities that we're all seeking, right? It's called web traffic, and we all want web traffic to our profile. So be really careful. Think about your keywords and make sure you get them up there with the vertical line dividers so that you can be found more readily. Now, lastly after that is the summary. And I haven't shown a photograph of my summary here, but that normally would come up just below the send a message section. The key to summaries is to keep them short. The summary, the word summary by definition means short. Keep them factual. It's usually 3 or 4 sentences tops, and they're numbers driven. So what you want to do is, how can I roll up my total experience in my life, how many years of experience, and can I roll up the number of projects I've worked on, or the size of budgets I've worked on, or the total number of people I've managed, whatever kind of numbers that you can roll up, so that very quickly someone can understand the size and scope of the work that you've done, but also be enticed to want to go better understand where you got all that experience. And again, you want to be listing those keywords that you're showcasing in your headline in that summary for consistency, not only for the searchability factor, but also for validation that you are, in fact, the things that you said you were in your headline. So this top fold, the consistency between keywords and what you're choosing there and how that all looks is vital for that first 6-second impression. And if you do that, you're going to find that a lot more people are going to spend time on your actual profile. Okay, moving down to number 2, making numbers your secret weapon. If any of you are in active job search right now and have been doing some studying up on resumes, you'll know that there's a huge trend towards accomplishment-driven resumes. So show us the facts, tell us your accomplishments. LinkedIn is no exception. LinkedIn is your digital resume. And it's important that instead of lots of fluffy text, I will see people who are far too verbose on LinkedIn. They over-explain themselves and they use lots of subjective text like I'm a results-driven high achiever, and they use lots of language like that. That is actually diminishing your keyword density because you're putting so many words into your profile that the total number of keywords are not as dense, right? They're not showing up as often. So that's why we want to be really succinct in what we write on LinkedIn. But also we know for a fact that numbers are more memorable. And the human eye will stop on a number faster than it will on a word because we can process a number faster than we can process a word. So having numbers in your LinkedIn profile is very, very important. You want to quantify your accomplishments, especially as they relate to your top 10 key skill sets. Once again, validating each of those skill sets by listing accomplishments related to them in the work history. You want to show growth in numbers. What percentage have you grown sales? What percentage have you grown the staff? And you want to use those numbers, as I said, in the summary and the job descriptions, both sections, because numbers make all the difference. It allows the recruiter to get a sense of who you are. It allows anyone who's considering you for an opportunity to understand just how large or small the types of projects have been that you've worked on. And it certainly is more impressive. It's just more memorable and more impressive. So really beef up those numbers, ladies, on your profiles. Okay, Moving on, number 3, unlocking keywords to attract recruiters. So if it's not recruiters, it might be something else. Maybe we have some savvy ladies on the call today who want more customers to find them. You have to ask yourself, what keywords do I want to be found on, whether it's for job search or for your business, and you need to make sure those keywords are all over your profile and then some. There are so many places that you can optimize for these keywords, right? We want to think about them in the summary, think about them in the headline, think about them in the job descriptions, think about them in the skills and endorsement section, but also there are many other sections of LinkedIn where you could be showcasing those keywords, like projects. There's a project section. Or recommendations. This is a very important one. Asking your recommendations to speak to certain keywords and skill sets so that those are incorporated in are equally important. Associations and projects, I mentioned already, but associations, volunteer work, education, there are all these different facets and aspects of you as a professional where you can tie back to these keywords, and that density makes all the difference. So be thinking about repetitive use of the same keywords. It'll almost feel a little boring to you. You'll feel like you're repeating yourself, but that's actually the point in order for them to see that you have that level of experience that they're looking for. All right. Next one, powering up your interview bucket list. So whether we're in job search, whether we're trying to build our business, work with more customers, the one powerful thing that we can do on LinkedIn is create a bucket list. And we can do that by following companies on LinkedIn. Very, very important that we do that. When we follow a company on LinkedIn, not only do they see that we're following them. When they search on people, we show up higher in their results because we're following them. But also it gives us an inbound feed of information. Every time they post something, maybe it's a job that they're hiring for, or an announcement about a big contract they've won, or a new product or service they've developed, they are going to put that in their feed. And if you are following that company, you will get in your digest a notification about that. And this is one of the easiest ways for us to engage with companies and brands that we want to partner with and stay on top of, and also naturally show up in their search results. It could not get any easier. There's never been an opportunity to do that before. So having the right companies to follow and showcasing them on your profile is extremely important and can help your business in a multitude of ways. And it's amazing how many people really aren't taking advantage of that because they're thinking, well, what do I care? You know, what does it matter if I find out about them, you know, announcing a new product or service? But it does. It really is important that you be as knowledgeable as possible. And again, because of the way the algorithm works, you are rewarded by following them. So some tips with that. Find the companies that are similar to your own values. Research missions and purposes and culture. Create that dream list of companies and get them up there. You'll be able to showcase on your profile alone quite a few companies, and that will impress them because they will go check out and see if you are in fact following them. So you want to be proactive there as much as you can. Okay. Moving down to number 5, promoting your LinkedIn persona. So, you know, I always think of the movie Field of Dreams where they whisper, if you build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come, right? And so this is definitely one of those situations where the better you build your LinkedIn profile, more people will come to it. But you can quadruple that if you actively promote your LinkedIn persona. So things like having it in the signature of your email may seem obvious, or having it on your business cards might seem obvious. Definitely having it on the top of your resume, for example, would seem obvious. But the other way to promote your LinkedIn persona is to contribute on LinkedIn in the form of sharing. I'm sure everybody on here has a Facebook account, and you're constantly sharing things to family and friends to help them know what's going on in your life, what you're about these days, whether it's your kids or your dogs or your home renovation or your hobbies or your interests. What you put out on Facebook forms an impression, forms a brand. And this is what your friends and family remember about you. Well, LinkedIn is absolutely no different. You need to consistently promote yourself on LinkedIn. And the way that you do that is by sharing articles and tools and resources that are of interest to you with respect to your career. This is how you let all of your professional colleagues inside your head. Let them understand what you care about professionally, what you know, what you think is right. And it's important because if we do this consistently, we can not only form a brand for our peers, right, by once or twice a day pushing things out in LinkedIn, but again, it also gets rewarded. LinkedIn loves when you are active in its platform. I will often work with people in our LinkedIn Level Up program, and they'll go through it top to bottom. And when they're done optimizing their profile, they see this huge flurry of activity, of eyeballs and new requests to connect. And then about a week or two, it drops off, and they say, oh, JT, it stopped on me. And my first question is, how are you promoting your persona? Are you logging in at peak times like breakfast in the morning, lunchtime, or after work? And are you posting articles from your industry that you think are interesting and commenting on them? If you aren't doing that on a regular basis, yes, LinkedIn will drop you out of the rotation because they don't think you're being active in their platform. But if you can set up a maintenance routine, almost like brushing your teeth, right, where you're checking in with LinkedIn every day and sharing something every day with your audience, that is how you can not only brand yourself but be rewarded by LinkedIn. So very important that we do this. And I will tell you, there's some huge upsides to this. Less than 50% of the people inside LinkedIn right now have properly optimized profiles and are using LinkedIn consistently. So you can automatically cut 175 million plus people right out of the mix by being optimized and more active in this platform. Okay, number 6. Uh-oh, it's not showing. Well, let's see. There it is. Getting attention with connection requests. This is the next big thing that you want to focus on. So LinkedIn enables you to connect with people that you know and also people that you don't know. You can connect with strangers. And expanding your circle of influence within LinkedIn is important because of the degrees of separation. So the more first-line connections you have, people who have agreed to connect with you, obviously that creates more second line, meaning you know somebody who knows somebody that you may want to meet, and then from there more third line. And we know that 80% of all jobs are gotten via referral, but what a lot of people don't know about that number is that the majority of those referrals come from second-line connections. It's often not our first-line network, our core network, that refers us into a job. It is usually our first-line network that refers us to somebody at a company who then refers us to a job or an opportunity. That's how networking really works. It's the power of the second-line connection. So the only way you're going to power up your second-line connections is if you have an expanded first line of connections. So connection requests. The key to those on LinkedIn is to personalize them as much as you possibly can. And a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people are getting in there and having a little operator error with LinkedIn. You might be in LinkedIn and you'll see somebody and you'll randomly hit the connect button next to them and it says it sent your message request. And what that has done is sent an automated message, and we've all gotten them before, that says, I'd like to add you to my network on LinkedIn. Those have the highest rate of dismissal. Most people will not accept connections requests like that because they know it's generic. And they're thinking, this person couldn't have taken 10 seconds out of their day to personalize a connection request and tell me why they wanted to connect with me. So if you want to dramatically increase the amount of connections you get with strangers, you have to personalize the request. And the secret to doing that is to always go to the person's full profile first. Never hit the connect button until you are on their full profile page where you can see their entire profile. Then when you hit the connect button, instead of sending an automated response, it'll say, how are you connected to this person? It'll give you options. Are you a colleague? Are you, did you go to school together? And you click a button. You're going to click colleague. And when you click colleague, it's going to show all of your jobs that you have listed in LinkedIn. And you're going to pick whichever job that you've had, whether it's your current job or a former job, that you feel would be recognizable or shares in commonality with this person that you're trying to connect with. And from there, you're going to scroll down and you're going to customize the connection request. You're going to take out the default text, and you're going to be able to write, Dear Mary, we've never met. Always open with that because you haven't, comma, but your profile came up when I was researching XYZ Corp. And then you add one sentence of personalization around why you'd like to connect with them. I see we went to the same college. I see we have the same degree. I see you work with this particular technology. I see you ran the ABC project. Whatever it is, you want to prove that you've studied their profile and you've put something very tailored and specific to them in there so they know that this is not generic. After that, you simply say, can we connect? I would love to learn more about you and your work. Sincerely, and you sign your name. This will take less than 300 characters, and by having that, that's the maximum you're allowed to use in LinkedIn connection requests, but it'll give just enough personalization that you will see a much higher rate of acceptings of your connection requests, and that is vital because there are so many fabulous people to meet out there. And the beautiful thing about LinkedIn is it's like the ultimate business networking event. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can really tailor your connections so you don't make a bad first impression. Right? It's a wonderful, wonderful tool. So to not be systematic about expanding your connection requests right now is really a shame. It's a wasted opportunity because the more connections you have now, like I said, that only leads to more secondary connection requests. And it's not hard to do. If you were to carve out 15, 20 minutes a week and say, I'm going to send out 10 new connection requests a week, if you were to get 20 to 30% to connect with you, that's 2 or 3 new connections per week. That's pretty vital. All right, so just to recap on that, I think I've gone over that. Personalize every request, connect with people where you want to work, and be very clear and specific in your messaging. All right, number 7, we're going to talk about the resume alternative. So we've talked about what you need on LinkedIn, but once you've given them a taste of who you are in LinkedIn, why not send them to some other places or give them some other things so they can get an even bigger sense of who you are, right? So there are a couple things that you can do to be able to add to your LinkedIn profile. So first of all is creating a personal website. So you're allowed to add links, and a lot of people think, I don't want to set up a personal website, but I will tell you there are lots of personal website services out there. My personal favorite is a site called branded.me. Full disclosure, I fell in love with branded.me so much so that I ended up becoming an advisor to the company. So I now advise the company. But the reason I fell in love with them is because of all the personal branding websites out there. It was the first one I saw personally after many years in the business and said, gee, that's exactly what I would have wanted to build. And it's very easy. With one click, you can use your LinkedIn profile to populate your personal website. And it just gives a different look and feel, and then you can put that link in your LinkedIn profile and give people other things to look at. But there are other things that you can do, like writing, blogging for content. Everyone here today has the little pencil on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has given everybody their own blogging platform. And while I'm not suggesting that everybody start writing every day or feeling like they have to write every week, I will tell you that one of the best things that you can do for your business of one is to write 2 or 3 blog posts where you share your expertise, where you teach people something, where you give them tips, or you map out a process, or you do a case scenario of a situational analysis. Anytime you can offer people more insight into how you work and what you do, you are creating authority for yourself. And that is a wonderful thing to supplement here on LinkedIn. We know that people are active on LinkedIn, they're reading on LinkedIn, and you just never know. Your post can go viral, and it's something that you can then put in your LinkedIn feed. So if we go back to talking about promoting yourself, you can then share that link in your feed every single week and say, this is an article I wrote on this subject. I would love your thoughts, your comments, your feedback. And that, once again, that activity is rewarded by LinkedIn. They love when you blog. They love when you share the posts. They love when people comment on your posts, and that all is going to feed into your visibility in the LinkedIn platform, right? And then after that, once you start getting your training wheels off, there are other things that you can do, like record short videos and pop them in, create slide decks. SlideShare is a company that's owned by LinkedIn. They have great tools for creating slide decks, little presentations about subjects. These are all things that then can be attached to your LinkedIn profile that add flavor, that add authority, that add credibility. And it really does pay to have that on your profile. It's going to set you apart from all those people that are really phoning it in and have very light or weak profiles. The more that you can put into this, the more that you will get out. So there you have it, my savvy ladies. The 7 things that you need right now on your LinkedIn profile, the down and dirty. I wanted to leave plenty of time for us to answer questions today, which I've done, so I don't want you to be shy. I'm happy to talk about specifics of LinkedIn, scenarios, you name it, and certainly any of the 7 things that we went over today. But I hope that this is making you see just what a valuable resource LinkedIn is and how you're going to get out what you put into it. If you can just carve out a little time every week, you'll be amazed at how sophisticated you'll get with your usage of LinkedIn and what a powerful tool it is. All right, I'm going to stop there, Maggie. What do you think?
Okay, great. Thank you, JT. That was so great. I just want to remind everyone that you can type your questions into the chat box, or you can email them to info@savvyladies.org. So we had some questions that came in, and I'll start with the first one here, which is, should I ask a former boss for a recommendation? I didn't burn any bridges, but I quit my job and haven't spoken to my boss since I left. So is it rude to ask for a recommendation?
It is not rude to ask for the recommendation, but it's not the first thing that you're going to do. I think anytime we leave a job like that, lesson learned, right? It's a small, small world. When you're thinking about leaving a job, folks, you should always ask about that recommendation while you're still there. Now, in this case, I don't know the circumstances behind quitting, but what I would do is I would circle back to your boss and rekindle the relationship. So, for example, go find an article that's really interesting on LinkedIn and, related to your industry or your subject matter. Reach out to your boss by email and say, dear so-and-so, I know it's been a while since we've spoken, but I saw this article and I thought of you and the work you do there. Would love to reconnect with you and see how you're doing. So kind of extend that olive branch and get that conversation going again with your boss. See if your boss responds. If your boss doesn't, well, then maybe there are some hard feelings there, and you're certainly not going to get a recommendation out of them. But if your boss responds and you start to have a dialogue, you could get on the phone and have a conversation, and then at that point say, I really wanted to write a recommendation for you. I enjoyed you as a boss, and I'm getting very active on my own LinkedIn profile. Would you be open to me writing a recommendation for you? So the second tip is to give in order to receive, right? And then ask your boss, is there anything specific that you'd like me to focus on? Are there any keywords or things you'd like me to highlight about you as a manager or your time there? So that you can really gather that person's input and shape the recommendation the way they like it. Now, once you've done this, usually 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, that was really kind of you, let me do the same for you, and then you can get your recommendation. But I would encourage you to pursue this. Don't dismiss it, folks, because right now recommendations matter a lot. You should be shooting for at least 1 recommendation, preferably 2, on every job you've held in the last 10 years. And the reason for that is LinkedIn's been around less than 10 years, right? So, but the expectation going forward is that as all of us work and this becomes more ingrained, we should all be able to get at least 2 recommendations. And if we haven't, the first thing a recruiter is thinking, well, why not? Why don't people want to recommend you publicly? So it is important that you pursue these recommendations, especially from managers when you can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Our next question is, even if one is not actively looking for a job or new career, how should one still use LinkedIn as an important aspect of their professional identity?
That's a super question. So you might not be looking for a job right now, but as we say at Careerism, every job is temporary. The truth is you cannot predict when you will need to mobilize your network, what day or time it will be, but I can 100% predict that every woman on here is going to need to mobilize her network for something in her career, whether it's a job, whether it's a referral, whether it's a reference, whether it's an introduction for business, it doesn't matter. Your network, ladies, is your net worth when it comes to your career, now and in the future. I cannot stress that enough to you. It will be who you know and who you're connected to. So doesn't it make sense to get started now? Wouldn't it be easier to carve out time every week to develop our network so when we suddenly need to activate it and engage it and leverage it, we're not scrambling? That is the unfortunate reality for millions of job seekers today who did not build their networks and then found themselves in this predicament. I would love to think that all of you are on here today because you're proactive, and I can tell you right now being proactive and mobilizing your network now so that it's ready to go when you least expect it is going to be one of the things you're most proud of yourself for in the future.
Okay, great. That was really helpful. So our next question is, do you recommend reaching out to HR people on LinkedIn, or should it be the people in the field where you work?
That's a wonderful question, and the answer is both, but I'm going to suggest that you reach out to the field people first, and here's why. So if you can get people who work at the company that say would be peers to you to connect with you on LinkedIn, Then when you reach out to HR to say, I'm a real fan of the company and I'm curious about positions, when that HR person looks you up, guess what's going to pop up? All the people at the company that you're connected to. So I would rather see you build your network across the company first so that when you reach out to HR, you have instant credibility. And connecting with those people doesn't necessarily mean that you've met with all of them, that you spent time with them, and HR understands that. But the mere fact that people within the organization were willing to connect with you, and you've got 4 or 5 people at a company that have connected with you, will make all the difference on whether or not they spend more than 6 seconds on your LinkedIn profile and whether or not they reach out to you and respond. So work the peer system first, but then go and try to reach out to HR as well.
Okay, thank you. And our next question is, I'm thinking of LinkedIn as a social media tool for my company. I like the idea of garnering customers through it. Should the company's LinkedIn page follow other companies or potential clients? So we'd be following, we're an engineering firm, so we'd be following architecture firms and institutions.
Right. So actually, LinkedIn is a fabulous social media platform for acquiring business. And this is a part that's expanding in LinkedIn. They're providing a lot of services for you to be able to do that. But while I think it's a great idea that you follow the companies that you're interested in working with because you want to consistently get information about them, the real value to your company as a social media tool is to make you an inbound marketing opportunity with your LinkedIn profile. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you build a LinkedIn company page and you are regularly putting out content that educates your audience, you can then get them to follow you. So you have to think about, what are all the things that I can share in my LinkedIn feed that add value for my customers, that answer questions for my customers, that showcase problems that they're having and how we solve them. We are an information-based community. And right now, the way we sell is by providing as much information as possible. If you were to push that information out through LinkedIn and get these people to follow you, they're going to get that, and that's how they're going to come to you and want to work with your company. And what we have companies do, just to give you an idea, is I'm sure you have some kind of company blog, and what you would do is promote all these articles that you're writing on your company blog. Each of those blog postings on your company would have an opt-in form, an email opt-in form, and say, look, put your email address here and learn more about our company, learn more about our services, let us contact you. So you would push these blog posts out on your LinkedIn feed and drive the traffic over to your web pages and encourage these people that are reading these things to take action by opting their emails in. And this is how everybody's doing it on LinkedIn. And the best part about it is the articles that you put in your LinkedIn feed that get the highest level of engagement. And anybody that has a company page on LinkedIn, if you log in, what it will tell you is your level of engagement. How many people have read it, how many people have clicked on it, and interacted with that article that you posted on your page. If you have a high level of engagement, then you can take that particular article that's doing so well and driving so much traffic for you, and you can actually market it on LinkedIn. So now your company can get a budget, an advertising budget, and they can take that article and say, I want this article to show up in the feed of every architect who works at these companies in these states where they have this many size employees or they work on this specialty. You literally can target who you want that article to be seen by because you know that's going to drive them to your site and opt into your site and hopefully get you more sales. So this is how marketing is being done on LinkedIn right now, and it is exploding. So to back up and summarize, yes, use LinkedIn as your social platform. Yes, start filling your feed with valuable content, but make sure that content is educating your customer base and has clear calls to action that get them to email opt-in so that you can continue to market to them. That is the process that you build, and once you've built that, then you can start to explore the advertising options on LinkedIn to help get even more people in through that channel.
Okay, thanks. Do you have time for another question?
Absolutely.
Okay, it is, what if you are a multipreneur and usually keep some of these areas separate? Since you can't create separate profiles, what can you do so that you don't miss opportunities or appear like you're not cohesive? And
right, yes.
sorry, to follow up, it also says, I was told that generic connections can be generated by looking at someone's profile. So if that occurs, how do you disable this feature?
Right, right. Okay, so it is a problem when you're doing very different or diverse things in business because LinkedIn only allows you to have one personal profile. My suggestion to you is that whatever is your core set of skills, the thing that you see yourself doing, the problem you see yourself solving for the next 5 to 10 years, that's what your profile should represent. Because if you put too many diverse things on there, people feel like you're not very focused. Like it or not, we are a society that believes everyone should be a specialist. And even though we're all Jack and Jill of all trades, when we're looking for a particular person, we want a specialist, right? We want that heart surgeon, not just that general surgeon to work on our heart. So you have got to pull the trigger and decide what your particular profile is going to be, but then you can supplement by creating company pages. So for all those different aspects that you're working on, create company pages and use those company pages as a way for you to showcase your various business entities and do what I just talked about earlier in the previous question to help promote that and opt them into your different places. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge when it comes to LinkedIn, and I work with them quite closely, and we're not on the future of allowing people to have multiple profiles. So it just comes down to kind of picking your main area of expertise and showcasing that, and then using other platforms to supplement. As far as the generic request goes, I've never heard of there being a way to turn that off per se. You can adjust whether or not the connection requests come to your email inbox or whether you want them to just sit in your LinkedIn box. But I don't think you can absolutely turn them off. One thing that you can do to limit the number is to decide who can see your profile. So if you make your profile public to everyone, you're going to get a lot more of generic requests. If you make your profile only public to your connections and your connections, which is a setting within there, then you're only going to be seen by people who are connected to you by first or second degree, and that can certainly diminish the number of generic requests that you get.
Okay, thanks. And we had another question that came in, which is, what if your current job is not in the field you want to be in? I currently work in financial services, but this is a job to pay the bills while I pursue a career in mediation and dispute resolution. So should I still put up my current job front and center, should I still put my current job front and center on my profile?
Yeah, you don't want to not have the job there because you want to prove that you're working, but think about what we discussed earlier today regarding keyword density. Downplay the financial services keywords. So don't put a lot of description into your work history on those jobs, and instead beef up the keyword density in the education that you have when it comes to mediation, maybe some projects, some volunteering, some pro bono work. Any place on the profile that's related to what you want to be doing, add more keywords to that and emphasize that. I would also go out and ask 20 or 30 of your closest colleagues who are comfortable endorsing you to endorse you for this key skill sets related to this new career that you want to be in, because that's going to statistically increase your chances of being found. And then, of course, in your summary at the top, besides having the keywords related to the field you want to be in your headline, in your summary, explain why this is the field that you're looking to get into, and once again, use the keywords there. That's going to de-emphasize the financial services, still allow you to show them that you're working to pay the bills, but optimize the profile for the field that you want to be in so that you show up in more recruiter searches.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, JT. That was so helpful. I think we're about out of time for questions, but can you just talk a little bit about Career HMO so that everyone on the call knows the resources available?
Oh, sure, and thank you for the opportunity to do so. So, folks, the reason that I know so much about LinkedIn is because not only have I been writing for them, but we've also been working with them very closely for the last 2.5 years. In fact, last summer we built a product out of our relationship with them, and it's called the LinkedIn Level Up Program, and it's over at our website, Career HMO. Career HMO is the first virtual career coaching membership site and community. Our goal was to provide elite-level coaching at a fraction of the price. Right now, most people that get career coached are executives where their companies are paying thousands of dollars, and it just didn't seem right to us. So we've leveled the playing field, and we've used the power of technology to help you get access from our trained career coaches virtually. The LinkedIn Level Up program is an opportunity for you for $75 to submit your LinkedIn profile. A career coach will review it top to bottom and record a private video just for you explaining everything that you need to do to optimize that profile. You're then given access to the 25 videos that I mentioned. They're all 1 to 3 minutes long, and they highlight every single aspect of the LinkedIn profile so that you can take that advice from that coach and optimize your profile and measure your results. And so that package is there. Like I said, it was literally developed in collaboration with LinkedIn last summer, and the results have been incredible. It's really an opportunity for you to get the most out of your profile. And for those of you that end up purchasing the LinkedIn Level Up, I will just tell you that we have a special offer that allows you to then apply the entire cost of that package to one of our career coaching packages. So if you're in job search or you're in career development and you think it's time for a career coach, you may want to check out LinkedIn Level Up so that you can definitely get your profile optimized, but then you would be able to apply that cost to a career coaching package if you thought it made sense. And they're all very affordable, and we'd love for you to check them out. We have a ton of free resources over at CareerHMO. We practice what we preach. We give away a lot of free videos and tutorials so that people can really understand what coaching is and how we specifically do it. So I invite you all to go over there and check it out, and just know we're there if you need us.
Great. Thank you so much, JT. That was such an excellent presentation, and I want to thank you for taking the time to answer everyone's specific questions. So
thank you. Those were excellent questions, by the way, ladies. You truly are living up to your name, Savvy Ladies. I love when we get the really detailed questions, so thank you for that.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone who joined us, and we hope you'll join us again for future webinars. Thank you again so much for your time today.
Bye-bye, everyone.